Hello again, and welcome to another Iceberg themed video on this channel. My name is Nate, and I wanted to make a follow-up to another video on my channel, the Animal Crossing Iceberg Explained. If you haven't watched that yet, well, do I have good news for you. There's another video you need to watch that's about an hour long. I'll put up one of those cards in the video so you can click it, but if you can't see that, I'll also leave a link in the description of the video, or you can go directly to my channel and find it in my uploads, but you don't have to if you don't want to. If you aren't familiar with these types of videos, simply put, an Iceberg video is exploring the depths of the history or obscure trivia of a specific topic, with each layer getting more and more obscure as you go. This specific video will not be in this format. Today I'll be addressing comments with corrections and suggestions that I thought would be fun to talk about. This video wouldn't have even been possible without you, the viewer, leaving a comment, so I'd like to thank each and every one of you for making this video possible. And as always on this channel, there will not be any sort of creepy audio or jump scares, so please get a snack, relax, and enjoy the video. I got a comment saying, I'm fairly certain the original mayor refers to the question of who the mayor of the New Leaf Town was originally supposed to be before you got off the train, with the two most popular theories saying Rover or Isabel. Oh, I see. See, I was so fixated on the word original that I didn't even once consider that the phrase was referring to this specific type of situation. I found some theories that seem to be the most comprehensive versions for Rover and Isabel, so let's check them out. Let's talk about the Rover theory first. I'm going to quote a Reddit post I saw that I thought was really well summed up. It says, personally, I think it was Rover who was meant to be mayor. He meets us on the train, awaiting to step into town with his new job. Then he freaks out. He sees us going to the same place and asks us all these questions and deems us worthy. He decides not to get off at the station and lets us become the mayor. When we arrive in town and we tell the townspeople, they're confused. Isabel says, well, you said you were coming and you're the only one that got off, or something like that. That's why when we get the letter, it says, to be honest, I was supposed to be mayor. Since he approached us on the train for a simple conversation, he was just trying to figure out if we were worthy to be mayor in his place, his real intention. He's the only person who knew we would become the mayor since he was supposed to be mayor in the first place. I'm sure there are holes in this theory, but that's what I like to think. And now let's move on to talk about the Isabel theory, also from a Reddit post. I saw a theory once that suggested that Isabel was meant to be mayor, but felt like being secretary would give her more power to change the town. And really, she does take Tortimer's job in events and has a lot more say than the player. Another post says, I think Isabel is the real mayor. The only work we get to do are the public works projects, and she can say no to those. Bridgegate is a good one, where she says no and you have to move 2 items to get the bridge built. Then you have to replace the 2 items back in the same spot. I think she's keeping that money to retire with the older mayor or to fund his retirement. These are both just really fun headcanon theories, and I'd be curious to know what you think about this theory in general. This comment reads, if I remember correctly, the whiskey that Isabel is drinking could be barley tea, a common drink in East Asia. There's no confirmed original source, but you can find tweets from Japanese players talking about it. They think it's funny that the Western fans thought she was drinking whiskey. This is something I got quite a few comments about, saying pretty similar things, saying that the drink is barley tea, and while some other people were completely convinced that it was whiskey due to a PSA board. Nintendo Soup had an article talking about the Japanese Twitter users that laughed at the Westerners that were convinced of the whiskey. If anything, it's that meme sense of humor and irony that is the lifeblood of information, especially in this day and age when people cannot detect sarcasm or a joke due to how hard it is to truly convey sarcasm. But I think I have a finalized answer to this debate, and sadly, it's a pretty boring answer. If it truly was intended to be whiskey or any sort of alcoholic beverage, the game would have changed the ESRB ratings to clarify the use or depiction of alcohol. But I don't know, I think I just like the idea of Isabel getting turned up a bit more. Oh, we gotta talk about raccoon goons. A very simple mispronunciation I had because I moved the Iceberg entries into a Google Doc to make these videos, and I have a few comments on these. It's a small oversight on my behalf, which is unfortunate since I did look through this video a few times for errors, but I'd like to think I've come quite a way since the release of the original Iceberg video. The raccoon goons are a group of unspecified number of raccoons mentioned by Tom Nook once the player is done working for him, but he then stresses that it was a joke, making it unclear as to whether they do indeed exist, as they've never been mentioned again. Another correction is on the photo ops. I'll read a comment. I think photo ops refers to locations in the New Horizons Museum, usually indicated by a tiny camera sign somewhere in the environment. If you stand on or near, the angle of the camera will move in a unique way to present the player with a good pose for a picture, like near the diving suit or sub in the fish section, or the blue dot that shows you the meteorite in the fossils. Another short correction, I thought the photo op entry referred to the Animal Crossing visual display at PAX 2020 that led up to the release of New Horizons. Once I saw a few comments talking about the museum's photo op areas, I immediately turned into a pile of embarrassment. I do appreciate the corrections though. I think the Pet Pikachu entry also makes a reference to a different rumor that said it is possible to take the delivery quest items and place them in your home, and if you manage to place the Pokemon Pikachu one, a walking Pet Pikachu would spawn and follow you around your home. While I do think that the concept of this is great, and it reminds me a lot of that GameCube N64 era of urban legends, things like the Mario 64 era secrets, if you kill a bazillion enemies, Luigi will be playable, or hidden character type of things. They're incredibly fun and nostalgic to think about. I actually couldn't find anything relating to this specific myth on YouTube or anything really, so I don't really have that much to say or explain about this, but I still think it's fun to think about. I actually just remembered as I was recording this script I think this might have been mentioned in some sort of gaming magazine. It sounds like something I would hear in a gaming magazine, so let me know if that's the case. The phone case's entry likely refers to the fact that each villager and special character have their own unique phone case. Some of them even use patterns not available in the game. This correction is something I noticed like a week after making this video, and I again turned into a pile of embarrassment. Just due to the lack of the internet not really talking about it online or bringing attention to it, it made it hard for anything to really come up about this very specific piece of trivia. But once I thought about the name of the entry, it became pretty obvious that this entry was specifically talking about the unique cases each villager has, which is a pretty cool touch. I'm surprised that Jeff guy with the 15-year-old GameCube town he still plays on isn't on this Iceberg. Jeff is a legend in the Animal Crossing community. I've referenced and used some of his videos in the original Iceberg video because he has some great recorded footage of key moments in the original Animal Crossing that no one else really recorded. JVGS stands for Jeff's video game site. He runs a monthly blog of the GameCube version Animal Crossing. He's ran a monthly blog of the GameCube version of Animal Crossing of his town since March 2011, but his YouTube videos date back as far as 15 years ago, starting with a 48-second video that's a look at his Animal Crossing home. He has a couple of other Animal Crossing blogs as well. He has a New Horizons blog that he updates 3 to 4 days a week, a Wild World blog he updates once a week, a City Folk blog he updates once a week, and a New Leaf blog that he updates twice a month. So before I talk about this comment, I do want to mention that the timestamp they mention talks about the section of the Iceberg about the singing bug boy. Just a theory, it could be Flick. Just imagine it. He was a child during this time in the Animal Crossing series. Both of them share a fascination with bugs, and they're both males. It perfectly aligns, and if this isn't the case, we'll never truly know. Then I at least headcanon it as such. So to clarify, the singing bug boy is an unseen character who sends letters to the player character describing themselves catching bugs, and also giving tips on how to catch bugs. While I don't think technically it's Flick, I do have to say I'm a big sucker for some fun headcanon, and will probably always envision the singing bug boy as a youthful version of Flick, so thanks a lot. One time I was playing New Horizons when my villager Eric came up to me and told me about this rumor that they live inside a game and everything they do or say is made to amuse someone else. Now it makes me wonder, were they programmed to say that, or are they actually trapped people in the game? Oh, I've actually had this dialogue on my own file in New Horizons, so this is not like some type of replaced text, or this isn't like a meme or something, or a reference to something. I should have screenshots on my Switch's SD card, and if I do, I'll show them here. This meta type of dialogue is genuinely great. It reminds me of some of the darker themes surrounding something like Black Mirror or The Twilight Zone. How they actually put this dialogue in the game and it not bringing the rating to at least an E10 is a bit baffling, to be honest, as it deals with a subject that's pretty dark. Existentialism's pretty scary. Speaking of the story involving a trap player, which is why I distrusted Gyroid's not from Brewster until the New Horizons update. I love that. I'm surprised Ruby Quest isn't here. All the characters, Ruby, Tom the Cat, Bella, Ace, who even with his name you barely recognize, Red and Nook as example, have names from Animal Crossing and are the correct species as their game counterparts. So I was really confused when I was doing research on this initially, and sadly I won't go into a lot of detail because the story is a bit gruesome and has some really dark themes. I didn't do too much research because for me the information was kind of hard to find, but Ruby Quest is a interactive comic in like an RPG style text adventure that was DM'd on 4chan, so you know, it's already kind of dark as it is. And I'll just read a summary of the story, or the premise of the story that I saw on TV tropes. It begins with a rabbit named Ruby waking up in a cell or locker. Together with a cat named Tom she soon meets, they perform puzzles, plot horrible abominations, and try to escape the massive underwater complex they're in. They also meet Red, a creepy but helpful fox with a truly awful evil laugh, Ace, a giant bird and servant to an unknown master, Filbert, who is a former head doctor turned delusional, and several unnatural abominations, all of whom used to be normal and innocent. So it's kind of just saying that all the characters in this story are actually Animal Crossing counterparts. So I think that's it. If you want to read about it, feel free to. Just look up like Ruby quests, because the info for me at the moment was hard to find, but I think that's still a cool connection with the character names and species. I heard that in Japanese folklore, gyroids originated from statues people would make for the dead with their ashes. So gyroids are effigies? Also Coco the villager? Terrifying. Yes. So gyroids are based on figures called hanawa. The hanawa are terracotta clay figures that were made for ritual use and buried with the dead as funerary objects during the Kofun period. Hanawa were created to the Wazumi technique, in which mounds of coiled clay were built up to shape the figure layer by layer. I found a Tumblr blog reply with a bunch of cross-referenced gyroid trivia that debunked and brought the truth to light. I'll also leave the link in the description. Their post says, I'll try and sum it up because there's quite a bit. Pretty much everything here is wrong. Cremation only became widespread in Japan with the introduction of Buddhism. Sometimes the year 703 is seen as a symbolic date of this custom becoming the norm. Only really did in the Kamakura era. The only pre-Buddhist instances of cremation come from the Jomon era, rather than Kofun, and are widely considered uncommon and unusual. Number 2. Hanawa were not made out of human ashes. They consist of nothing but unglazed clay and sometimes red paint. The dead in the Kofun period, which came after the Yayoi period, were not cremated. They were buried in, well, mounds, as the name of the period indicates. And then I'll kind of skip towards the bottom. Curiously, none of the claims about Hanawa present here show up in any source other than Animal Crossing posts. Basically, someone is making up completely new lies, not even repeating fringe theories or common misconceptions for clout, because for everyone on the internet, history has no inherent value and ought to be twisted into creepypastas and lies. They're not wrong though, so I hope that answers your question, but the second half of your comment will be answered later in the video, I promise. I really wanted to see something about Zipper and Hopkins. Amazing work. Oh, thanks so much. Yeah, this is something that was missing from the original Iceberg video. I'll gladly talk about these two characters. So let's start with Zipper. Zipper is the holiday character for Bunny Day and was first introduced in City Folk. Zipper is a yellow rabbit with a white muzzle, buck teeth, blue overalls, and a turquoise sun visor. His eyes are green and he has purple eyelids and 3 eyelashes on each eye. He has a brown nose and small eyebrows. There's a zipper on the back of Zipper's overalls, which may be the source of Zipper's name. It is easily visible when seen from behind, which causes Zipper to turn around and comment saying not to look at the zipper as it spoils the magic, quote unquote. Zipper's mouth, costume or not, moves while talking. Fans have come up with theories as to Zipper's true identity, though many of them are easily debunked. Phyllis. People theorize that Zipper is Phyllis in a costume due to their similar habit of making asides and grayed out text about how much they dislike their jobs. This has been debunked in all games prior to New Horizons, as Phyllis is still present at her job in Town Hall or the post office or in the Roost whenever Zipper is present in the player's town. Theorists have responded by purporting that Pally could be taking over her role as Zipper when she is busy, as they have different shifts. Tortimer. People also theorize that Tortimer is Zipper, but he too is present at the Town Hall or in the island tours in New Leaf when Zipper is present on Bunny Day. So let's move on to the conversation to talk about Hopkins. Hopkins is a lazy rabbit villager who's been in the series since Animal Forest E+. One interesting fact about Zipper is that in New Leaf, Zipper has the voice of a lazy villager. Hopkins shares his birthday with Zipper. Both of them have their birthday on March 11th. And also similar to Zipper, Hopkins also has something to reveal about his true self in the form of a blow-up inflatable button on the back of his head. So it's been theorized that Hopkins is the person inside of Zipper's costume, but in the same breath, this can be disproven only if Hopkins lives on your island or town, as Zipper and Hopkins would have to be in 2 different places. So with all that being said, I would have to ask, what is your take on this theory? Does it hold? Is Zipper also Hopkins and vice versa? Let me know. Surprised that there wasn't an entry about how Luna may have the ability to travel between the waking and the dream world, considering that in her first appearance, she can guide you to travel to dreams and be present in them even when she's fully awake, or pull the memories of your town or island to turn it into a dream. Luna, as a tapir, introduced a new leaf. She made a return in New Horizons as the host of the Dream Suite. In Japanese culture, tapirs are said to eat dreams. This may be why Luna appears in the game with her service. Now, this comment made received a reply from another viewer who said, "I think it makes sense because I believe she's based on a baku, which to my knowledge in Japanese folklore is capable of eating people's dreams or nightmares. However, I'm not 100% certain of this, so feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. The Pokemon Drowsy being the most famous example of this." So, baku are Japanese supernatural beings that are said to devour nightmares. According to legend, they were created by the spare pieces that were left over when the gods finished creating all other animals. I might pronounce this wrong, but in the Meiji period, Lafcadio Hearn described a baku with very similar attributes that was also able to devour nightmares. Legend has it that a person who wakes up from a bad dream can call out to a baku, and a child having a nightmare in Japan will wake up and repeat 3 times, "Baku-san, come eat my dream." Legends say that the baku will come into the child's room and devour the bad dream, allowing the child to go back to sleep peacefully. However, calling to the baku must be done sparingly, because if he remains hungry after eating one's nightmare, he may also devour their hopes and desires as well, leaving them to live an empty life. That's not scary at all. The baku can also be summoned for protection from bad dreams prior to falling asleep at night. In the 1910s, it was common for Japanese children to keep a baku talisman at their bedside. While it's not completely confirmed that Luna is or isn't a baku, given that she's a tapir with the dream-based abilities, I would say it's not a stretch to say that she's at least roughly based on a baku. Oh man, I was hoping the Iceberg would mention that Something Awful Let's Play. I remember reading it with friends while hanging out together back in early university, and just wow, it was something. And dark. Pretty dark. Be careful reading it. I appreciate the warning. I covered this entry on the Iceberg, I think, and I didn't go to too much depth due to the graphic nature and horror aspect of the story. I did enjoy reading this many years ago when the word of this story spread around the time that Animal Crossing Wild World was the newest Animal Crossing release. I think why you may not have noticed it is because I barely, like I said, I didn't go into a lot of depth, but I didn't show any of the pictures that were in the comic because of the whole horror part of the story. So I'll leave a link to check this out, and there's also a really dramatic reading of this story, which is also pretty cool, and I'll link that as well. In the Animal Forest police station, the wanted criminal on the right may very well be referencing JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Jolene Cujo, due to clear parallels in appearance, and Stone Ocean being the current running part at the time the game was released. Maybe whoever drew that texture was hinting at Jolene's stated goal of escaping the prison, which is why she would be on the run from the law. I really like this theory, because when I read comments about this, I was like, JoJo fans always be like, yo, is that a JoJo reference? But then when I actually looked at the similarities of the hair, the silhouette and all, they really do have a striking resemblance that I can't really deny. I tried looking up the 2 artists who worked on the original Animal Forest and tried to find interviews or even a picture of their desk around that time frame, but I couldn't find anything that was concrete enough to confidently say yes. Maybe someday we'll have a clear answer if this is a reference or not. Also, the other character looks a lot like that dude from Super Mario RPG, doesn't he? I don't know if I'm late or if this is worthy of a spot on the Iceberg, but it has to do with some players feeling that they may have heard the tune or melody of DJ KK from another song, but can't seem to know what song it is. So this was an interesting little rabbit hole to dive into. I'll start with a little tangent that's a bit more concrete that I didn't know about until researching the song. Then I'll give you a much more comprehensive result of me looking at your question. The live performance KK does in the original Animal Forest and E+ version have an alternate intro that sounds like this. This was apparently cut because it sounded a lot like the iconic song by 2 Unlimited titled Get Ready for This. I can't play it due to copyright, but I'll sing it poorly. And then it says, y'all ready for this? And then, you know, the beat comes on and everything. I'm sure you might recognize the song now that I've poorly sang it. And editing this is going to be a lot of fun. If you aren't familiar with the song though, it's more iconic as a song commonly used in sports, but most commonly with basketball and the NBA. So there's that. But let's dive into what this comment was originally intended to be about. When looking up the audio for DJ KK, there's almost always a comment wondering if the song reminds anyone else of another song, and if someone can help them find exactly what song it is. A few of the songs mentioned are Jump by Madonna, and a Croatian song called Teska Vremena. I probably said that wrong. And the Madonna song does remind me a bit of the melody once I played it back at a higher speed. Another reply mentioned that the Japanese name of DJ KK is called Eurobeat, and lo and behold, that is correct. The same commenter said that it seems to be based on a mix of Deja Vu by Dave Rogers and One Night in Arabia by the Go-Go Girls. And while I don't think those are the answers, it made me skim through and listen to the Eurobeat music that's a part of the initial D series, and I think the answer is actually running in the 90s. If you listen to the chorus of that song and then sing back the melody of DJ KK, I think that's the closest thing we could have to an answer. Let me know if you have any answers or any sort of ideas as to what might be a closer fit if you have one. Now I'm going to kind of go into depth with a very great comment I received. Thank you so much. So it's just kind of suggestions for Iceberg entries. First one is Pigeon Milk. Brewster is a pigeon special character who is the owner of the cafe called The Roost. In New Leaf, Brewster offers to let the player work part-time at the cafe. If you befriend and talk to him long enough, he'll offer to put a shot of pigeon milk in your coffee. And I could see why you would think that would be like charming or nice. You probably also know that birds spit up their food and feed their babies, but did you know that's actually called crop milk? It's a secretion that comes from the lining of their digestive tract, and in pigeons and doves, it's known as pigeon milk. So when these birds eat food, part of it is stored in a little pouch in their throat, which they can then spit up at will to give sustenance to their babies. And you might be thinking that you definitely don't want pigeon milk in your coffee, but think of it this way. What if this is a sign of Brewster's affection? Crop milk only happens when a bird has babies after all, which would imply that Brewster sees himself as a somewhat fatherly figure to you. Alternatively, he's trying to supplement your diet because pigeon milk is high in protein, fat, and antibodies, so he just loves you, and we'll just go with that. Coco is a gyroid. When you look at a standard gyroid like Lloyd and then look at Coco, the similarities aren't too difficult to see. It's difficult to know if Coco is truly a rabbit despite being classified as such. Some moves to note is in New Horizons, unlike other rabbit villagers whose ears move. There just isn't enough info to really have any of this stated as facts though, but I mean, look at her. Anka meme. I won't go into too much detail about this. I do have a video that I made that briefly explains the meme and the music behind the meme. So I'll link that, put a card up on screen, and yeah, we can go from there. How's that for your cross promotion? Who built Ribot, Sprocket, and Cephalobot? When searching on Google for this question verbatim, I found a Happy Home Paradise screenshot on Reddit called The Birth of Ribot, which has a photo of Petrie and Cobb dressed up as scientists with Ribot in some type of scientific looking machine. It begins to make you wonder where these other two robots came from. There is another robot related question, so in that regard I will answer that later in the video. Raymond in the maid dress. This is talking about how some people online wanted Raymond to dress in the maid outfit, so it became a popular thing among artists as well and spread and kind of got a huge meme status. Sid is based off of an inappropriate celebrity. Sid is a cranky elephant villager introduced in New Horizons. Sid is an alternate spelling of Sid, as in Sid Vicious, which, along with his Japanese name Punks, references his appearance as a wearer of punk fashion. Sid Vicious was an English musician best known as the bassist for the punk rock band The X Pistols. I can't say the name, probably because of YouTube, so the first two letters of the first word are SE. He passed away at a young age, and one of his friends noted that he embodied everything in punk that was dark, decadent, and nihilistic. I won't go into too much detail due to YouTube potentially censoring the video, given the, let's just say it gets pretty rough. If you want to know more, I would say just look up Sid Vicious on Wikipedia, and don't say I didn't warn you. Barbara Racist Controversy. This is something that's completely new to me that I'd never heard about. Prior to the Animal Crossing Wild World release, Nintendo released 14 advanced copies to the press. There were already towns set up in the game's cartridges, and Barbara's catchphrase had been tampered with. Instead of saying darling, it had been replaced with a racial slur. So, I'll have a photo here probably, and ooh, that's so bad. Set of 4 Wild World themed Nintendo DS's. There are these 4 really cool and very rare Nintendo DS systems custom painted to represent each of the 4 seasons of the year. Looking up the consoles online brought me to a website called consolevariations.com, which states that each console was awarded to 4 different people given away in a contest to design a new Animal Crossing Wild World character. But in a video by LSuperSonicQ on YouTube, the consoles had actually been traced back to a now defunct gaming website called britishgaming.co.uk. Going into the archive of the website confirmed that the consoles were definitely part of the contest, but the other question came from the authenticity of the DS actually being made or confirmed to be a legit Nintendo-made console. The console was to be provided by a company by the name of Bergsala, the name of Nintendo's Swedish distributor, which confirms that the consoles were officially distributed by Nintendo, making it an authentic special edition DS console. LSuperSonicQ tracked down the winner of the grand prize and had a chat with him to confirm that the winner does still have the console, but that was only one of the 4 versions of the consoles. They are hard to specifically track down, but definitely one of the cooler pieces of Animal Crossing trivia without a doubt, and I will link his video because I think he did an amazing job and definitely worth a watch. Animal Crossing 2 Wild World's beta name. I remember seeing these beta screenshots in the monthly magazine I used to subscribe to called Tips and Tricks, back when it was simply titled Animal Crossing DS. I remember how excited I was just to think about having an Animal Crossing title on the go. My kid brain couldn't even comprehend that concept. You might not think much of these screenshots at first, but a few of these screenshots have some visual differences that wouldn't carry on to the final version. The inventory in one screenshot looks a lot more like the GameCube version, and the floor textures in another screenshot look a lot like the GameCube version with those like tree stump looking textures. They're pretty weird to look at once you notice that difference, and you probably won't be able to unsee it. New Leaf E3 2010 build. In a pre-release build of Animal Crossing New Leaf shown at E3 2010, a number of significant differences from later builds can be seen in screenshots released to the press. Different textures and models are used for different things like trees, fruits, flowers, and houses. The models use different lighting than what was in the final release. The sky lacks clouds. Public works projects had stone underneath them, much like the key buildings do in the final game, like that concrete. There are a couple flowers that have much more detailed 3D models than in the final game. Another screenshot seems to show that the beach was originally going to have a slight slope going into the ocean. The villager dialog box initially used a more rectangular design with a speech bubble for the villager's name. The box itself would be reused in the final game for non-character text, with the speech bubble removed. The speech bubble is green in dialogue with Rosie, unlike the pink used in the final game to convey female villagers. In one of the screenshots, a male character is seen with a hairstyle not found in the final game. It appears to be an early version of the messy hairstyle. Audie is based off of the grandmother with 2,500 hours in New Leaf. Audie is a peppy wolf villager in the Animal Crossing series, first appearing in New Horizons and was added in Pocket Camp to coincide with the release of New Horizons. And as of the release of New Horizons, she is the only peppy wolf in the series. While unconfirmed by Nintendo, it was reported by gaming news outlets that Audie's name may come from an 87-year-old woman named Audrey, who went viral on the internet in 2019 after her grandson posted a YouTube video showing her 3,580-hour file playing Animal Crossing New Leaf. She named her player character Audie, and now I actually think it might be a homage to this woman because of this viral video. It reminds me a lot of the type of stuff that happens in World of Warcraft or Overwatch, or different types of games with that type of community. I personally think it is based on her, especially with the whole peppy wolf thing. Appearance wise, I mean, I can't really say, but that name is pretty unique, and for it to be a peppy wolf, and she's genuinely like a wholesome person to watch with this game file, so who knows? I'd like to know what you guys think in the comments. Sasha Is Transgender. Sasha is a lazy rabbit villager in the Animal Crossing series. He was added to Animal Crossing New Horizons as part of the 2.0 free update and was added to Pocket Camp between the announcement and release of the New Horizons update. Many Animal Crossing fans thought Sasha would be female due to his feminine facial features and his localized name generally being associated with a female name, even though Sasha is a unisex name and is commonly given to males in Russia. He shares this trait with Dom. He's the first male villager to have the fashion hobby in New Horizons and the cute preferred theme. Something else that the comment here left was Sasha is a subtle hint at the next entry introducing female jocks and male snooties and etc. Who built the robot villagers in Animal Crossing? So I did mention this one earlier, and sadly I can't say too much about this in particular because there isn't really that much info on this topic, but a YouTuber named TrinityRBG made a video questioning who actually built the robot villagers, and sadly there is not really a concrete or even a strong theory to push or for me to talk about. I do always enjoy these type of brainstorms. The nerdiness is always asking why. So yeah, I'll link his video in the description. And this comment also made a statement saying robot villagers all reference different time periods, Dal being steampunk, Ribot being the 90s, Cephalobot being modern day, and Sprocket being the future. And I never really thought of that before, and I think that's super cool. Again, there's not that much to go off of this, just like looking at their designs and their appearances, and I think that's super cool. And I'll also link this Trinity video in the description as well. Completely forgot about it, but there is a theory that there's a sea monster that burps up balloons, balloons, and that's how the balloons are there. And I didn't have anywhere else to mention this, so I'll probably have to cut this in somewhere else and just act like I talked about it initially. So there you have it, some more fun trivia and deep dives into some more Animal Crossing related things. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like the video to help me out with this algorithm. It's crazy. Leave a comment if you feel there's something you'd like for me to talk about, Animal Crossing related or not. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on future uploads. I also post on Twitter, Instagram, and kind of on TikTok, so feel free to check me out on any of those sites. I really appreciate it. If you've made it this far, thank you so much. I appreciate your time. Go do something special for yourself. I promise that you deserve it. I also do want to shout out some really nice comments that I received that have really helped me. And I wanted to put it at the end because I didn't want to carry on too long about this otherwise. Let me go ahead and find them real quick. I have to look. I had a comment saying I never realized how much I love the non-scariness of this Iceberg video compared to other Iceberg videos. This was amazingly made and I hope your channel grows huge. Like, come on. Thank you so much. There's this one. Dude, you deserve so many more subscribers. The sheer amount of thought and research and scripting you pour into these videos is absolutely incredible. I can't believe you only have 170 subscribers. Damn. That's this comment has aged tremendously. Thank you so much. But the one comment that I really want to bring your attention to, and I think is like worth really mentioning, is this comment here that's like, this is so good, question mark. You deserve so many more subs. Oh my gosh, genuinely gonna watch this video when I go to bed tonight. Your videos are so nice and easy to just slip into, and like, thank you so much. It makes me emotional. So like I just want every single one of you to know that I do appreciate the comments, and that's pretty much it. I'll see you on the next video, and please have a great rest of your day. Goodbye.